Hello everyone, Ron Spomer here with a special guest, Chris Hodgdon with the Hodgdon Powder Company. Chances are, if you've ever fired a gun, you fired some Hodgdon powder. Now, Chris, how long has Hodgdon Powder been around?
So my grandfather founded the company in 1947, and he was fresh out of the Navy after World War II. And prior to World War II, he did a lot of hand loading as a hobby, and he did a lot for his friends. And he read in a newspaper article somewhere that after World War I, the military dumped millions of pounds of surplus powder in the ocean.
Whoa.
And can you imagine? And so really after World War II, he thought that, there might be an opportunity here. And so what he did was he couldn't go to any bank because they wouldn't give him a loan. And so he decided to borrow against a life insurance policy. Now, I believe it was $2,500, something like that. Anyway, it really helped him get that first 50,000 pounds of government surplus 48.95.
So that was right after World War II.
Right after World War II.
And the military was probably going to dump that too? Sounds like government work.
Yeah. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
That's the way he did it. And he took out an ad in American Rifleman. Yeah. That was early in 1948. And he really started in the mail order business. And of course, there wasn't that much regulatory action back then. And so they shipped a lot of powder through the mail and by rail. So that's how he really got started. And he did this as a part-time job. He had a daytime job. And so Granddad worked as a salesman for an appliance company. Okay. And what's interesting there is that he was so successful there, he outsold his boss. And his boss kept cutting his territory. And one other thing, he had to wear a suit and tie every day. And he absolutely hated that.
I can't blame him.
Yeah. And so the business was doing well enough in the early 50s that he quit his day job. Okay. And this is when he dived full-time into the business. And so he when he started the business, he said, I'm never going to wear a tie and a suit to work ever again. And so that's kind of been the cultural norm for our company is everyone here is very casual and we've stayed with that all these years.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now you have expanded beyond Hodgdon Powder. You had your own line, Hodgdon Powders.
Right.
But now I see on the wall, and of course, as a hand loader, I know that you guys have a lot more. How many brands do you have now?
So our first acquisition was IMR. And my granddad would have really been proud of us because the IMR back when he first started the business, that's really one of the only powder companies that had product on the market. And back then, product was expensive. And so when he introduced the surplus powders, that was a whole lot less expensive and value priced. Okay. And so he promoted that hand loading across the country. And he went around with people like Fred Huntington, who started RCBS, John Nosler, Vernon Spear, Joyce Hornady, all these people, all of the pioneers. And so he promoted that. And so IMR was really our chief competitor at the time. And so we did acquire IMR in the early 2000s. And then from there, we entered into a marketing licensing agreement with Winchester, Olin. So we pay a royalty fee to market and sell Winchester powders. And Winchester has been very, very popular and been very good for both companies. And so that's a win-win for us. And so, of course, before that, we had Pyrodex, which is the most successful black powder substitute on the market. And that was started in 1977. And that's a whole nother story. But that's one of our big brands, obviously, too. And then about the year 2000, we started 777, which is another a very popular black powder substitute. So IMR and Winchester, and then we entered into we acquired ram shot powders in 2021, Western powders.
Yeah.
And so that's been also a very, very popular move for us. It offers the hand loader a whole lot more product line. We have a good, better, best type products in our complete line, and we have all the brands that everyone knows. And then we have Blackhorn 209, which is also a black powder substitute, which is very popular today in the more modern muzzleloaders.
I think what a lot of us wonder is, where is this powder actually made? You started off selling Army surplus powder, and once that's gone, then were you able to make the same recipe?
So the story there is to the early 60s. That's when, about the time a lot of the World War II surplus powders started to dwindle. And my granddad knew at the time that it would come to the day that we would be eventually out of surplus powders. And so what he had to do is he had to seek out a vendor that we would partner with. And then we did that in the early 60s. We started with primarily ball type powders. And my granddad was really instrumental in bringing in what they call spherical powders, which was really his name for ball type powders. So that's when we started bringing in a lot of new products in the early 60s. H380, H414. Those are some of the older ball type powders, or spherical powders, I should say, from that era. And then we still had quite a bit of surplus powders that eventually, it was really into the 60s and the 70s that we had surplus powders, but we were running out quickly of those stocks. And so we had to go shopping for an extruded partner, extruded powder partner, which is, extruded powders are obviously the stick type powders. And so we went to a manufacturer in Scotland back in the late 70s and the early 80s, and we partnered with that manufacturer to help us with our Hodgdon extruded powders. And so that was a good relationship, but really where we came in to be very successful was with our partnership with our Australian vendor, ADI, and that was in the early 90s. And really the most successful shotgun powder resulted from that, called Clays. And it was a new concept really to the hand loader, to the shotgun loader, because it was clean burning. In the other powders, the dots of the world, very dirty.
Yeah, Herco. Like burning charcoal.
You look down your barrel and you can see what's going on there. And then when we came out with Clays, what we did was we did a side-by-side test. So we did the load of Clays and we did a load of red dot, and we shot them side by side, and we took pictures of it, and then we started to promote it, and the hand loader, shotgun loader, really bought into that. And it really grew and grew, and it was the most successful shotgun powder at that time. And then in 1997, a revolutionary new powder came out called Varget.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And we had to educate the consumer about temperature changes and how Varget is so stable. And your point at impact, it doesn't change.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
In the hot and cold extremes, the older powder technologies, you'd be all over the place, right?
Right.
But with Varget, it was such a new concept. It clean burning and exceptional in cartridges such as the 22-250. Hand loaders just went wild over Varget, and it is still one of our top sellers.
I believe it.
It is a stellar powder. It is a shining star. So when the hand loader in the past would go out and try out their loads for the first time, a lot of times in extreme temperature changes, hot and cold alike, you get high pressures, generally erratic velocities, and so your accuracy is going to be not very good.
Yeah.
In those extremes. Now, Varget changed everything. So the consistency of Varget is that it's insensitive to hot and cold temperatures and extreme ranges, especially. And so if you're at 30 degrees and you're out testing your rifle and you're going out in the summer to get a desert bighorn, and when it's 110, your point of impact's not going to change.
Yeah.
Which is a new concept.
Yeah.
And we really had to inform the hand loader, educate the hand loader on how that could happen.
Yeah, right. And especially now with long range shooting, it really starts to add up.
Oh,
if you've got 100, 200 feet per second difference from shot to shot, at distance, it starts to spread more and more.
Exactly. And every single shot counts in competition. Absolutely. And especially at those very long distances, you got to have that point impact has got to go in the same spot every time.
Now, after Varget, you started developing a lot more of these temperature insensitive powders, right?
Correct. And so the extreme line of powders were the market leader, and we came out with like a slow burning powder, H1000 or Retumbo, which are all very popular. And so now we've also shifted that over to Winchester, and we have our new stay ball powders that we've introduced that are ball type powders. And of course, with the ball type powders, you have the advantage of easier metering.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, as a hand loader, I really appreciate that. None of this crunching and of the extrudeds.
And obviously you can get more in the case. You can get really good performance out of ball type powders. Yeah. So the Winchester line of the stay ball line is been a very popular alternative to some of the extreme powders. So the beauty of it all is that you have both ends of it.
Yeah.
And so whatever your particular load or your particular cartridge you're looking at, you can experiment with both. And so we have both available. It just gives us that much more wider variety of choices that the hand loader has.
Well, speaking of variety, how many different powders do you make? Even including the Pyrex types, the black powder substitutes.
A good question. I would my guess is that we're definitely over 70 or 80 powders if you include all of the brands and all of the burning rates. That includes the black powder substitutes and Blackhorn 209. Pyrex 777,
shotgun powders as well,
and
as
shotgun, rifle, pistol,
all of them.
We have it all. So
I think that would just amaze most people. They just they're probably 12 different kinds of powder or something, but that's really an eye opener.
And we have it all available in like 1 pounders, 4 and 5 pounders, and 8 pounders.
Yeah,
and we have all sizes for all tastes.
All right. So. Now here's a question I get quite a bit. Can you use the same load density between 4831 standard and shortcut?
Yes. So H4831 and H4831 SC are the same burn rate. So you can use the same data. You can get slightly more in a case with the shortcut version.
That's the advantage.
Obviously, because the kernels are smaller, and just like a ball powder, it's got the smaller surface area, so you can put more in it in the case.
But burn rate's the same, so if it's calling for 57 grains, it'll work.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
There you go. You got your answer, guys. So you are offering all of these powders to hand loaders, and they've got everything and anything they can select from. It's just amazing. Do you supply any powder to the major manufacturers of ammunition?
Yes, we do. Quite a long list of those. We do try to help out our friends in the industry the best way we can. Everyone from Remington to Hornady, Federal, Black Hills, quite a few different customers on that side of it. But really our number one focus is the hand loader.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
That's our bread and butter. That's where my granddad focused all of his attention on, and that's really where our business is focused totally on.
Mm-hmm. You know, that means a lot to an old hand loader like me, and I'm sure all the new ones starting up, folks get into hand loading, and I have yet to meet one who says, I wish I'd never done this. Because it's just a hobby that carries you through, and it becomes almost a thing of its own. You know, it's like, I like to hunt, I like to shoot, I like to hand load.
Right. Well, really for me, it's so interesting to put together a load for your particular rifle and to go out to the range, sight it all in, make sure everything is working right. You can try different bullet weights, obviously, different powder charges, different powders within that. But really, when you go out into the field and you're going after big game, and you go out and you find your trophy, and you get to see it happen in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Which is so beautiful and so satisfying when you put together that hand load and you do all that work and that effort, and you put it together and you see it happen right before your eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I always equate it with making your own arrows and your stone points.
Right.
We really,
right.
I think most of us as hunters know that we are hearkening back to our roots, and we're doing what we were essentially made by nature to do, which is to provide for ourselves and our families.
Right.
You know, we're by nature predators. We're omnivores. And to think that there's so many layers between us and getting that meat, you start to reduce those layers, and it's ammunition you built yourself, sometimes even bullets that you built yourself. I don't know of anybody who's made any powders yet by themselves.
Right.
Maybe the old black powder guys did it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It just makes it that much more special.
And muzzleloading too.
Yes.
And to put together your muzzleloading load and all your combinations there, and going out in the field and seeing that happen too.
Yeah. Well, thanks for providing the opportunity for us all by making all these great powders. I know I have been enjoying them since the 1960s, and I hope I got a few more years of loading left in me. Is there anything you would like to say to our audience? Any special messages?
Well, I would like to say we're celebrating our 75th anniversary this year, and I'd like to thank you, all of our customers that made this all happen for us, and we are thrilled to continue on to be part of the shooting community, part of the industry. Our family is now, we're into our 5th generation, and we will always plan to keep it in the family. And but we just really want to send our gratitude to all those of our customers that's kept us going for 75 years.
Well, I'm sure they return that gratitude, because without you guys and the powders that you make, we'd be in trouble.